Alright guys, here's the gear for today's shave. We are continuing with the blade, the 365 from Gillette. It's one that you don't see too much in America. I think it's made mainly for the Indian, area of Asia type market. And I can see why a lot of people like it. It's been very good, and today we're going to try it in the Timeless Bronze razor. I think it's a 38 gap. It's a big old bulky, chunky looking, look at the side view there. They were not trying to be elegant with this design. And I initially ordered it, I bought it used, and I thought, I'll give it a shot. But I just kind of fell in love with it. It's almost like a misfit because it's just so kind of big, but it works really well. For the first time in a shave, I'm trying this 50/50 brush from Zenith. And it is a horse brush that is 50% hair from the mane of the horse and 50% hair from the tail. That's why it is named that. It is its model number is 506U and then space H. I don't know if that'll be in focus or not. And it's made by Zenith. It does have some clipped hairs. I did a little bit of a test shave with it earlier, and I think it's going to be a very scrubby brush, but maybe not so much prickle because of very pointy edges and tips on the fibers, on the hairs. I think it's the tips are going to be so kind of thick that it gives you scrub without really prickle, just with thicker hairs. And so I don't know that I'm going to enjoy it too much, but I wanted to try it out. And we'll talk more about it later. Something else that jumps out at me, and this is the reason I bought these 3 horse brushes on the used market, was I wanted to try out this handle. This is a different brush. This is, you can probably see, it wasn't soaking in water. This is the extra soft horse. And you can tell a huge difference as you move your hand across the top. I don't know if it's 100% mane hair. Now, has this been clipped? It looks like maybe there are some in there that have been clipped. I know that the mane hair, I believe that the mane hair is softer than the tail hair. And so when you increase the percentage of mane hairs in your knot, you start to get a softer, more comfortable knot. But then, if you're not careful, that can be floppy, and so that's why they have that ratio of the tail to come in and help maybe it not to be so floppy. And so it's tricky with the horse brushes. I got this one on a good deal because when the original owner had kind of washed it, cleaned it out, he ended up tangling it. And so I'm going to take my comb. Can I get a comb all the way through it? He said that some of the hairs pulled out, and so I actually got it at a really good price. Okay, yeah, it looks like maybe deep into the knot there's some tangles. I do know that tangles do occur on a regular basis with some horse knots, and that it's typical for you just to need to make that a part of your routine to detangle it before or after each use. It's going to be best. Something that jumps out at me right away, I love the beauty of these wooden handles. They have a great finish. They have wonderful color. Almost looks like an olive. I think Zenith makes the olive wood as a possibility for you to choose. But what jumps out at me the most is how small they are. Just really quite small. Let's see what I have here. Like here's a slightly large handle from That Darn Rob. And then here's the Zenith handle. Anything more normal sized here to compare it with? Well, here's a standard bottle of aftershave splash, and then here's the height of the brush. So that kind of gives you an idea. It is very grippy during the shaving process because of this saddle here. It does put a little pressure on your fingertips as you grip it super tight, but it's not going to come off in your hand or anything like that. So I'm gonna work on maybe detangling this more a little bit later. But I definitely recommend the extra soft. I have another brush around here that is, it's all black, and this one has some other non-black colored hairs in there, but it's the extra soft as well, and I really, really like that brush. I've had my guy soaking here. Here is now that same olive handle, but this is that 50-50 knot. You can tell there's not as many of the lighter colored hairs there. And the soap we're going to use is an old one, Latha. It's the Latha line from Barrister and Mann, back when they made this as a wonderful soap for beginner shavers. It was highly recommended across different areas of the shaving world because it was an inexpensive line that performed really well, and they had some good scents. And it was just foolproof. This one is the sandalwood, and he lists the sub-ingredients as currant, sandalwood, and amber. I'm a huge fan of sandalwood, but really more the woody part, and not so much the UK English version of sandalwood, which is kind of more perfumey. Anything like D.R. Harris and some of those sandalwoods that are from the English style are very kind of perfumey, and sandalwood almost means something different to that market. And so I don't like that, and this is kind of along that same vein. There's something sweetening it up a little bit and perfuming it up. And so I did try this many years ago, but it just wasn't sandalwoody enough of that warm, woody type of sandalwood scent to make me want to keep using it. This is not the tub that I had, but I ended up getting a tub of it. But I expect it'll be just fine with the Slurry Lather method today. I've had it in my lineup to give it a try with this method. Okay, I kind of did a pre-wash earlier, so my face should be very nice and clean, but let's get it a little wet. And as is my habit, I have wet my face and gotten my fingers wet before I put the blade in the razor. So let's do that. I just keep forgetting. This razor is so well made. As you're unscrewing the head, it has a wonderful solid feeling. The razor blade here has maybe about 6 uses on it. This might be the 7th, something like that. Checked it the other day. Long bolt here, so it takes a second to tighten it down. Locks in perfectly every time. And now let's do the loading. With this brush, I've noticed that in a lot of horse brushes, the fibers, let's pretend like these fingers right here are the fibers of the knot, and here's the kind of the soap. Sometimes they tend to, as you're trying to load, the center will stay in the middle of the soap or in the middle of the tub. And so sometimes it makes loading a little bit more of a challenge or just a weird feeling. But that's just the way kind of the long floppy brushes work. And that's an interesting thing. See, in the badger world, as I let this drip a little bit, in the badger world, if you've got floppy hair, then you're getting super comfy soft tips that are luxurious and plush. But in the horse world, it's not that same thing. You can have super floppy hair, but still have kind of scratchy or really scrubby tips. All right, that'll be fine. And we'll do my usual 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. My usual method is to load until I get not a thin slurry coming over, but a little bit more of a thick one. And that's what I seemed like to get. And plus 90 swirls is a good many. This soap hasn't been used in a while. I'm going to take some of the extra here, kind of put it on as a pre-wash, just to kind of help my skin out, clean my beard even more. In a way, it is too bad that Barrister and Mann moved away from the Latha line, because it definitely left kind of an empty place for us to be able to point beginners to. But I think good replacements to that are Sterling soaps. It's a very inexpensive product. You get, for what you get almost 6 ounces of soap for around $13, which is just crazy, and it performs really, really well. Another one that tried to come in and maybe address that market, that missing hole in the market there, was Grumatorium, the people who own Chiseled Face. They came up with a stubble buster line. I think it's still made, but it was very inexpensive, along the same price as the Latha, and it performed well. But unfortunately, for me at least, the scents were so minimal. It was just like using an unscented soap. I didn't see tons of comments about that, but I definitely don't see Stubble Buster mentioned very much these days, and so I don't know if other people felt the same or not. All right, so slurry technique. We're going to take that wet brush with the soap on it. Just start it. Not going to flex too much because we don't want to dump out all the water. And this guy did seem to do a good job of holding a lot of water when I was doing my test lather earlier. I can definitely feel kind of the scratchy nature of these brush tips. And so if you like exfoliation as a part of your shave routine, then this is going to be one that you might like. Extra exfoliation. I don't really enjoy that feel. I like more of a plush feel, because the blade itself is going to do plenty of exfoliation. Matter of fact, this kind of feeling that I get makes me think by the end of the shave, 3 passes, I might end up with a little bit of tenderness in my skin. Of course, you guys with tougher skin probably don't have anything to worry about. Couple of days growth. Shouldn't matter to this blade and razor. Very easily moving through that. Man, it's been so hot lately here in North Carolina. I don't know if it's any hotter than usual, but the house where I'm renting a room here, the AC is just not getting to my room very well. And it really makes for some warm days in my room doing my work. First pass, nice and easy. A little bit slightly more tuggy than usual because it was a couple days growth. A little splash of water now. Not a magical amount of slickness right there as I rinsed it away. Other soaps do have a little better, but that's okay. We'll see what we have here in the future passes. Now we can be a little bit more normal in our movements, since we're not trying to, since we did work it up into a little bit of a slurry. We don't have to worry about drippage quite as much. But and while it's not being pointy, prickly, it's being prickly, but just in a less pointy way. It's a more comfortable kind of prickle. I'm going to get a little bit of more water on the edge of the brush there. It's a more comfy kind of prickle, but it's still kind of abrasive feeling. And we are more toward I've spent more time working with it here than usual. And so this lather that you see on my face is more like what I would get at a third pass in this slurry lather method. And that's partly due to me not being able to work the brush in the same way. especially in my neck area. It takes more time for me to get those areas because that prickle shoving at me. I'm different with it. That's kind of a disadvantage. And because it's more mature, it's definitely more creamy here. Not quite as slick as other soaps at this stage. I think, while I said I'm sorry that Will had to quit making this line, I'm not surprised because, I mean, he wanted to focus his energies on, I mean, all the wonderful things he's produced since then. We can look back now and see the Omnibus base and the Excelsior base, the softer, like Purple Possum or whatever that was, that temporary one was. All those are just wonderful, and the scents he's put out lately in the past few years have just been great. All right, that's the second pass, and it feels kind of creamy slick, but not like super watery slick. It's like a slow kind of slickness feeling there. Not doing full rinses between passes usually with the Slurry Lather method, so that I can kind of keep that maybe a thin film of soap that might be still in my skin, and don't necessarily need to rinse that away, right? Nothing wrong with keeping that around for the whole shave. So now, is my skin feeling tender? You know, kinda. I definitely don't think I'm gonna use this brush very much. Would my skin get used to it if I had to, if I was, you know, stuck somewhere? I don't know, I guess. One thing about horse brushes, they, like a boar brush, the tips do split and get softer. I mean, they improve somehow. I think somebody once said they split, but it takes a very long time. Very long time, and so I'm just not willing to wait around. But as you can see, it holds the lather really well. Plenty of water area in the knot itself, and that's really one of the most important things for being able to use the Slurry Lather method here. And you can just feel the kind of the abrupt ending of the tips there. It's nothing like that extra soft one, that's for sure. Now, I was reading, and I think the Vlong company, VIE-LONG, is a company that has been doing horse brushes for a long time, and that was actually the first horse brush I ever tried. But the loft was so long, and it was such a small knot, that it was just impractical. I can't imagine that made it out of R&D. I mean, the loft was really probably another 3/4 inch past this, and it just flopped over on my face. It wouldn't make a lather. I just couldn't believe it was a real shave brush. Now, obviously, that's not the only kind that they make. I'm sure they had different lofts and things like that. Hopefully, that was a lofted one that was like for some specific guy, some kind of custom order or something. But I found something online that said that company will do, that company often does the knots that aren't clipped as much. And that could really help with softness and that sort of thing. So yeah, well, nice light scent on this soap. I'm pretty happy with the soap. It's now definitely not as perfumey as it was the first time I tried it so many years ago. But I wouldn't call it sandalwood because I like that warm woody type of sandalwood that I've been mentioning, and there's just not very much in there of that. So let's do that last third pass here. Timeless razors, including this bronze, do a terrific job of clamping down that blade, and so you won't be hearing too much audio from the edge. And got a great shave off of the second pass, and so this is just a little bit of cleanup and some of those trouble spots. That's all I need to work on at this point. And there we go. Yeah, my skin's a little bit more tender probably because of that brush. I wanted to try it, and now I have. 50-50. I would recommend it, not for people who like plush like me. I would recommend it though for people who like a lot of scrub. If they want to feel a lot of exfoliation when they use their brush, then I think this may be a very good option for them. So here we go. After a good towel stropping, this is what the knot looks like. You can feel the firmness of the tips there. And when I was doing my neck right here, pretty comfortable on my cheeks, but on my neck, when I switched directions, I could really feel the pressing in the backbone there. It's a weird kind of backbone. It's like a vertical backbone where it resists this way, but I mean, it's got a lot of flex for the normal splay top operation, and so that's why it was comfortable on my cheeks and everything. Let's just check with the comb and see if maybe I've introduced any tangles as a result. Nope, everything looks great. Yeah, that's fine. So, for me, no, not a brush I would use when I had other brushes available, just about any other brush, just because this style with this amount of scrub is not for me. And there are other boar brushes that have a good amount of scrub. There are some like Best Badger brushes. Some of those low-grade Simpson brushes come to mind. The Pure Badger grade might be similar to the horse. Some people like the horse brushes because they do not have to kill the animal to harvest the mane and tail hairs. Now with the Badger brushes, those are usually over in China, and they do kill the badger when they harvest that fur, but they also use the other parts of the badger as well for food, things like that. So it's not some kind of a wasteful thing. I have heard reports that some of those badger farms might be a little inhumane, but I haven't checked into the validity of that. So beautiful handle, kind of short though, but still it works very well. It's very grippable, it's comfortable during the shave, and even for my big hands. The knot has nice easy splay during the shave, but just that high degree of scrub. Now, not that sharp prickle like some brushes have given me in the past. Indeed, my extra soft horse that I have used before about 20 times or so, it had a little bit of prickle, pointy needle-like prickle that disappeared after 8 or 10 shaves. I can't remember. It was some small amount. It doesn't have any of that now. Very soft, wonderful, wonderful knot. But this guy, I think he would take a while before he would start feeling soft. I would not call this a soft brush because of that, the amount of kind of firmness and prickle. I mean, you almost feel like it's a broomstick kind of thing. But it's the strangest combination of firmness of the tips, but easy flop and easy splay. And you don't get that with the other knots. Would this guy be eligible for a hairdryer treatment? Would he respond well to that like the boar brushes do? It helps to accelerate the splitting. Well, since I'm probably not going to use this brush very much, I honestly might give it a shot and see what happens. I'm going to think about that. All right. The timeless razor, that's wonderful to use. It seems heavy. It's one of those that's heavy when you're holding it, but not when you're using it. Somehow the weight just disappears. I enjoyed using that, and it worked well with the 365 blade, but yeah, I'm still feeling a little bit of tenderness on my skin. Probably because of that that brush. So I'm not going to use an alcohol splash. I should have something around here. Yeah, here we go. I've been wanting to show this to you guys. This is witch hazel solution from maybe just a Dollar Tree or something like that. So let's use some of that. It'll be a good toner, an astringent kind of thing. Kind of like Thayer's. This doesn't have too much of a smell. Just kind of kind to your skin. And because of this on my skin, kind of helping me and healing a little bit, I may be able to come back with an alcohol splash like something from, Sterling or something like that later on and use it without any irritation. So, yeah, well, that's very pleasant. So that's an inexpensive aftershave solution if you need something like that. So maybe the next shave, I'll use this Pharos C3 from Semogue. I'm a big Semogue fan, especially their boar brushes, but I kind of think I'm not going to like this horse. I bet it might be even more prickly than the 50/50, but we'll give it a try. The 50/50 brush and all horse brushes should soften up, but how much time that takes, I don't know. Maybe it's probably too long for me, but if you are just passionate about animal rights and that's just your thing, and you are thinking about a horse brush for that very reason, just get it, start using it, and eventually it will soften up. You don't really have too many choices because you're making a decision based on your priority and your conscience, and there's nothing wrong with that for you. And so you can eventually your horse brush should get more comfy. Epsilon is another brand for horse brushes, but I've never tried any of theirs. Alrighty, well, I think that will do. I think we're good for today. You know what? Let's try out, because that witch hazel did make my skin feel a little better. Let's do some Old Spice. Enjoyed that the other day when I went out. I don't enjoy it every day, but a little bit of stinging due to the alcohol. Hopefully it won't be too bad. Yep, that's just fine. Very good. Stinging went away quickly. Horse brush. Razor did great. Blade continuing to do well. Latha soap, that is definitely compatible with the Slurry Lather method, but it's unlikely that there's too much of this still floating around, especially not on vendors where you can purchase it, right? So there's Barrister and Mann Latha. I think this was around, maybe around 2017, something like that. Back when maybe Glissant was the base that Barrister and Mann was putting out, is my guess. Thanks so much for watching. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. A little bit about the horse brushes, revisiting an old classic soap formula with the Slurry Lather method, and it worked great. Just like my other horse brush, my extra soft Zenith, this 50/50, very compatible with the Slurry Lather method. Just not really comfy in the tips, but that's a separate subject. All right, guys, take care. Thanks so much for watching.